Give me some.
Hold up, Diddy. Hit him with part two, son.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Vibing with Nessa. So as you guys can see, I'm back on this channel. I know I'm off and on with this, but I promise to God I'm gonna be on with this year. It's been really hard for me to like maintain everything that I do got going on, but I did want to come to you guys with these type of videos. These are videos I'm gonna be doing more often this year because it's something that I think it needs to be talked about, the real, the uncut. But as you can see, as the title is called Becoming a Mom at 19. So I'm going to talk about my experiences, what I went through, the real, because a lot of people, you know, they come on, they talk about it like it's just sweet, it's easy. And I just want to come on and be like, look, this was my story and everyone's story isn't the same. And I hope it isn't the same. But, you know, there's a lot that goes into being a teen mom. Like 19 is still a teen. And even though I'm not like 18 or 16, whatever, it's still a teen. You really don't know much. So I guys going to tell you my story and how it happened. I also will try to insert pictures, and if I don't, I apologize. But guys, let's get started. Okay, hey guys, so the video would not load or something like that, so I have to record this part all over again. Sorry, I like crusty and rusty and stuff like that, but I have to do the intro again, so here we go. Okay, so guys, like I said, I got pregnant at 19 years old. When I found out I was pregnant, it was about June 7th. So I found out 12 days after my 19th birthday. So I find out, and you know, I have to tell my mom, telling my mom and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna tell her. Like, she's gonna be mad. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, I've already lived on my own. So since 18, I've been on my own or whatever. So I'm like, I know she's not gonna be mad at that part. She's gonna be more mad that I have a kid. So, 19, I find out or whatever like that. And my little sister's birthday's coming up, which is in June. So like my mom calls me, she's telling me like, you know, I'm doing this and that for your sister's birthday. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, you know, it's a jumping place, it's called Scooter's Junk or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can go. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know if you can go? I'm like, well, I don't know if I could jump. And she was like, why would you not be able to jump? I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, Vanessa, stop playing with me. I'm like, no, like, mom, I'm pregnant or whatever. So she was mad and stuff like that, and she hung up the phone. So I had called her back, whatever. She was like, man, Vanessa, stop playing with me. I'm like, I'm not playing, like, I'm pregnant. So she hung up the phone on me again or whatever, which I understood, like, she was very mad or whatever. So my sister's birthday came up, I think, a few days prior, and I still went because I'm like, okay, let me see what happened. So I go, my mom doesn't really talk to me. She's upset and stuff like that. So, I was hurt, like, in a way or whatever case may be. Sorry guys, I have to reminisce on what happened. This was like 7 years ago. So after that or whatever, my mom didn't really talk to me. I did find out. So then I was supposed to be walking the stage. I was supposed to be graduating in 2013, but since I was not focusing on school, doing what I was supposed to do, I was supposed to chasing boys and stuff like that, I didn't get to graduate and walk the stage until 2014. I finished all my class in 2013, but I didn't get to walk the stage in 2014. So yeah, it was a lot that was going on. Yeah, so like I was saying, I graduated in 2014, which was supposed to be 2013. I walked the stage in 2014. When I walked the stage, I was 4 months pregnant or whatever the case may be. So after that, let's see what happened. Me and my mom weren't talking or whatever because she was very upset or whatever that I was pregnant. I would go to doctor visits. I would go more so by myself because he was in Sacramento. It did get to a point where I think I was like 3 or 4 months pregnant. I did break it off with him. I was 19, so I was doing like immature stuff. So I would like make a fake number and text him like another girl. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm this person. And I'm like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? He's like, no. So I'm like, okay, what the heck? So then I broke up with him. I'm still pregnant or whatever. And he was like, I'll still be there for you and the baby and stuff like that. I'm like, cool, that's all I can ask for, like, just be there for her. I mean, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but for her. So we were cool. I was going to El Camino College and stuff like that. And then like my baby shower came around, like, you know, baby shower came around and stuff like that. He wasn't really attentive. He really didn't give anything. Like, he didn't help or anything. He was trying to find ways to get mad at me, like, oh, because I would have like my mom buy the crib or somebody bought the crib. I don't remember at that time who. So somebody bought the crib and stuff like that. And he was mad, like, you're making me look bad. I'm like, you're making yourself look bad. If you're going to do something for your kid, you're going to do something for your kid. Like, I'm working. At that time when I was pregnant, I was working. I was going to school. I'm like, bro, like, I'm doing this shit by myself in LA. Like, and I said I'll come out there, but we weren't together. So I was like, you know what? I'll just be with him to make my family work, because I was really big on that. I'm like, I want my daughter to have a two parent household or whatever. But so anyway, like I said outside, we broke up or whatever. So I was working my full time. So I'm gonna just break down to you like how hard it was. So like I was okay, so y'all have to rewind actually. So I find out at around, let me see, if I find out I'm pregnant in June. Let's see, so I found out I'm pregnant in June. I'm like a month pregnant. June, July, August, September, October. So around September, October, I find out what I'm having. So I'm in a doctor's office and I'm like, okay, like they're like, you're having a girl. And I just scream. I'm like, yes. Like I'm just screaming. They're looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with her? And I'm like, I'm so happy. I wanted a girl. I didn't want a boy. I didn't want none of that. I wanted a girl. I'm like, I want a girl so bad. So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm still not talking to my mom really as much, or she's really not talking to me as much. So I found out that I'm having a girl and I'm screaming, I'm hollering. I call my mom. My mom's like, well, it's gonna be hard for you. And I was just like, bro, can you be happy for me? Like, can you please, like, it's already hard on me that I have to figure this out. Like, can you, I'm not with the dad and this and that. She's like, no, like, it's gonna be hard for you. Cause she did tell me like prior to that, like months prior, she's like, you should have an abortion, like you shouldn't have it. And at the end of the day, y'all better not bash your mama. Cause as her daughter, I understand. Me having a daughter, I understand. But at the time I did not understand. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, no, I'm having my baby. I was against abortions. Like I was like, no, I'm not having an abortion. I don't do that. If I'm gonna lay down and have sex, I'm gonna lay down and have this baby. That's how I honestly felt. Now, y'all, I am pro. Do what the hell you can do. And if you want to get an abortion, that is your body. Do what you want. Just don't be out here being a murderer, killing like 5-6 babies. That's how I feel. Okay, but it's your body. Do as you please. So anyway, I call my mom and I tell her, like, I'm excited, this is nice. She still wasn't happy, so I started crying. I'm crying in the doctor's office. I'm like, bro, like, I don't really have that much support at the time. Like, the support for me was my cousin Tracy and my sister Cynthia at the time. So I was like, excited to have them, but it was like I felt like I was just so alone. Like, the dad's not here. I'm at the doctor's appointments by myself. I'm finding out the gender by myself. So like I'm really upset. I'm hurt. So I call her dad or whatever, and I'm like, hey, like, I just found out what we're having. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm like, we're having a girl. He was like, oh, well, I don't think it's my baby then, because I don't make girls. Nigga, what? So he's now like, oh, I don't know if it's mine because I don't make girls and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what the fuck that means. And at 19, you're kind of gullible. You're like, maybe he doesn't make girls. Doesn't make sense. I think I don't know what he makes or does not make. But at the time I was like, oh, maybe, I knew it was his baby, but I'm like, you start being like not doubtful if he's the dad or not. But it was like, damn, like, he doesn't make girls. So like, what the fuck? Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So whatever that passes, so like I was going to school at El Camino. I was working at Subway. I got fired at Subway or whatever, y'all, because I didn't want to go to work on 4th of July, so I turned my phone on airplane mode, and I didn't go to work, so the next day they fired me, which I wasn't really too mad because I had just got hired at Ross today, 2 days prior for me getting fired from there. So now I'm working at Ross, but I'm staying at my grandparents' house. Not really staying there, but I spent the night when I had to work at Ross because I had to be at Ross at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like 6-7 months pregnant. Now I'm working at Ross, and then I'm also working at the Coliseum on Martin Luther King and whatever it is, the Coliseum, right? So I'm working there, y'all. I gotta tell you about the interview part, so I'm gonna like rewind again. I know I'm like jumping or whatever, but like, so I was there, I was like 4 months pregnant, and I was in line applying for the job. I'm trying to hide that I'm pregnant and stuff like that. I'm not really too big at 4 months pregnant. If I could find a picture, I'll put it here. I was very little for 4 months pregnant. So I'm in line though, I'm applying for the job, I'm waiting for them to tell me yes. Out of nowhere, I just started getting like lightheaded as fuck, and like I'm sitting there and I'm trying to fan myself. I'm like, y'all, like I told the lady next to me, I'm pregnant. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I need something. Like, I ate that morning. I had a banana and some cereal, but like I just was so lightheaded. So the lady had gave me some candy and it just helped. I was just like, or whatever, right? So I finally got the job at the Coliseum. So I'm working at Ross, the Coliseum, and I'm going to school at El Camino. So with all that being said, I work at the Coliseum until like, the holiday season's over because it's only for football season. So I work there until it's over with, and I go on maternity leave. So I go on maternity leave at like 8 months pregnant. I have my baby shower in like November. I invite him to the baby shower. He does not show up. So I have the baby shower. It starts pouring, raining. My friends show up from high school. My best friend at the time was there. So I had a good baby shower. It was just like, it was a lot that was going on. So I had my baby shower, and after that, like a month later, I had my baby shower in November, December, January. So I didn't have her until January. So January, I was having a lot of contractions. So what I would do is I was going to the hospital. Like every time I had a contraction, I thought I was about to go into labor, I would go. But every time I went and you're not too far dilated, they stop it. So I would go, and if they're stopping it, I'm like, no, I'm not coming back until like they stop stopping it. So I go back home and whatever, and at this time, me and him aren't really speaking anymore. Like, I don't think I spoke to him for like 2-3 months. He didn't show up to the baby shower. He doesn't show up for anything else. So me and him were talking. We were beefing really bad. Like, not really beefing. I just like wasn't messing with him. I'm like, I just want to enjoy the rest of my pregnancy. If I'm gonna do it by myself, I'm gonna do it by myself. I have the support of my family, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I had, I'm trying to think how, it was so long ago. So let me see. January. So what I had did was I was supposed to be giving birth to her, I think a day before her dad's birthday. Her dad's birthday is February 7th. So I'm like, no, I don't want her to have the same birthday as her dad. Like, that's out. Like, he's not here, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. So I take castor oil when I turned 39 weeks. I started watching all these YouTube videos, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take castor oil. So I take castor oil, orange juice. When I tell you, the taste of castor oil is so fucking disgusting. Like, it's not even funny. So I took 2 teaspoons of castor oil, and then I had a cup of orange juice, and I had it there. It tastes like fucking, excuse my language, it tastes like melted chapstick. Like, that's how bad it tastes. I'm like, ugh, ugh, ugh. So anyway, I take the castor oil and stuff like that. So I think maybe like 4 hours later, I start going to the bathroom because castor is a laxative. So I start going to the bathroom, and I'm starting to like use the bathroom a lot and stuff like that. So then I started having contractions. So around 11 o'clock at night, no, it started at 7 a little bit. Yeah, it started at 7. So I started having contractions at 7 o'clock at night or whatever. So I call my mom. My mom comes over, and she's like there with me. And I have my hair braided in a protective style, like, and I'm in there, and I'm in pain. Like, I'm like, Mom, this hurts. But I'm like, I'm not going until we're so close. So I don't want them to stop the contractions. So we're in there until about maybe like 10:50. So then we drive, we get in the car, we drive. I lived in South Central at the time. So I get in the car and I drive. We drive to St. Francis. So I get there, it's like 11 something. So I get in there, they put me on the machines, they gave me a room or whatever the case may be. My mom's in there. My mom was aggravated. I gotta rewind for you guys. Hold on. My mom started coming, I forgot to tell you guys, my mom started coming around when I was about 7 months pregnant. She was very excited. She was very helpful. She started buying the baby some stuff. We started thinking about names. Her name was supposed to be Yaya, but then she changed it to Gigi. So I'm kind of all over the place because this is 7 years ago. So me and my mom became cool. Like, we didn't have any problems, but I mean, like, my mom started talking to me again. So she was there for me at the baby shower. She was there afterwards. She said she was just really hurt. I remember when she first came back over, she threw my prenatal pills on the bed, and she was like, here. And I was like, okay, but she really wasn't talking to me. But, me and my mom became cool because I kind of skipped all the way up to, like, the labor, and I called my mom and stuff like that. So, yeah, so we get to the hospital. My mom's there, and I'm yelling at the lady. Yelling at the lady. She's like, you have to calm down. I'm like, it hurts. So I'm screaming. I'm yelling. I'm like, this shit hurts. Like, no, like, no. And I didn't get an epidural. I didn't get an epidural because I just don't like needles. Like, I know I have a lot of tattoos, but I don't like needles. I really cry when I get needles. The needles, like, I think it's like this long. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And if you move, you can I heard that you can sprain your back or something like that. So I didn't want to like move and stuff like that because I really still cry when I get my blood drawn and stuff like that. So I'm like, no, I don't want it. So anyway, I push. My mom was like, that's what it looks like when you give birth. She's like, oh, she's all the way down in my middle area, and she's just like, oh, that's what it looks like. She's like, Vanessa, it looks like this. And I'm like, bro, you're so aggravating. Like, I'm screaming, I'm yelling at her. I'm like, let me alone. She's like, squeeze my hand. I said, do you feel my pain? You don't feel my pain. This hurts. Like, you're telling me to squeeze your hand. You don't feel my pain. blah, 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 right? Whatever, give birth. So my labor was 4 hours and 31 minutes or whatever. So I gave birth for 4 hours and 31 minutes. She was 6 pounds, 9 inches. And she was 21 inches or 19 inches. I don't really remember per se, but I think it was around there. So I gave birth. Actually, you know, it's so funny. I keep always forgetting this to tell this part. So I had 3 friends that came to the hospital as I'm giving birth. I don't forget how they knew, but as I'm giving birth, 3 of my friends showed up. It was Josh, Kiara, and Ivory. So as I'm pushing her out, bro, why do they stick their heads in while I'm pushing? And I'm like, get out! And they're like, oh shoot! Like they just see me pushing or whatever. So that was funny to me because I'm like, my friends literally walked in while I'm giving birth and they walked out or whatever. They came back in after I gave birth. They saw the baby. They gave me like some gifts and stuff like that. And then they had left. My friend Josh has stayed. Listen, y'all. He irritated me. Look, Josh, I love you because you stayed and you stayed there the whole time. But it was more the fact that this nigga was snoring the whole time. I'm like, I'm the one who gave birth and you in here snoring. Like he... So he laying on a little, like, you know, comfortable place, laying there, and he's just asleep or whatever. So he gets up to give me some food and stuff like that. And then 3 days I go home. So I go home or whatever, I have her. And y'all, this is crazy. So 2 days after I have her, I go back home, but I go to a job interview because I'm 19. I live on my own. Like my mom is helpful, but she has a kid and she has to work and stuff like that too. So I go 2 days after I give birth to her, and people don't believe me when I tell them. I go to a job interview. And it was called CSC security. So I get hired or whatever. And then a week later, I go back to work. So a week later, I didn't even heal. So I'm walking up these stairs doing security work or event staff work. I'm in pain. I'm hurting, stuff like that. At the time, my sister Ashley was still at home. So my baby was at home with her while I was going to work. So she eventually had to leave to go. She went to go live in Europe or something like that. So she leaves and I pay my daughter in daycare. So my daughter started going to daycare a month after I had her. Most people be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm just like, I had to go to work. Like I just had to provide for her, had to provide for me. Her dad is nowhere to be found or whatever, or he's not helpful or nothing like that. So, you know, I had her in January. I go back to work and stuff like that. Let's see what happens after that. So I worked there for a while. She starts daycare. I kind of missed a lot of the good parts with her because I was at work so fast and so much. I kind of wish I didn't have to go back to work so fast because I missed out on a lot of great parts. That's the part that sucked for me. So let's say like 2 weeks after I do give birth to her, her dad reaches out to me or whatever. Or I reach out to him at time, finally tell him like I gave birth to her, and I show him a picture of her. He's like, oh my gosh, she has your nose, she has this and that. I'm like, oh, thank you, whatever. I'm like, so are you gonna be here? Are you gonna be like, you know, I'm still like very polite about it because I really just want him to be in her life. Like, you know, even if we're not together, I want to be great co-parents. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be there for her. I'm gonna just this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, so then he hits me up with a text message after that. He's like, hey, I feel less than a man asking you this. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, do you mind if I get her social security so I can file her on my taxes? Nigga, what? So I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? I'm like, how are you gonna file her on your taxes when she was born this year? You can't file them on your taxes this year. She would have to be born like the end of last year, like November, for her to claim her. I said, you ain't done nothing for her for me to give you her social, stuff like that. He was like, bro, I feel less than a man, but I really need the money. I'm like, then go get a job. Like, I'm not giving you her social when you don't do nothing for her. You know, and actually when I was in the hospital too, actually I called him in the hospital when I gave birth or whatever. I don't think I showed him a picture. I actually did call him because I was texting him like, can I give her your last name? Like, you know, because they ask you like, do you want the dad's last name or your last name? I'm like, let me ask her dad, like if it's okay. So I asked him and he's not responding. I'm like, hey, let me know before I get out the hospital. If not, she's going to have my last name. So, you know, when I'm in the hospital or whatever, he's like, I don't know. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to get back to you. I'm like, okay, well, let me know because now she's going to have mine. And he's like, well, you need to name her after my mom. I'm like, I'm not naming her after your mom. Like, no disrespect, but I don't know your mom. Like, that's weird for me to name her after your mom. My mom has never been here. Your mom hasn't contacted me. I don't even know who your mom is. So I'm like, no, I'm not naming her after whatever. So anyway, let's get back up. So he asked me that and I'm like, bro, no, like you lost your goddamn mind. I kind of go off because I'm mad. So 2 days after that, I am on Instagram. I'm being nosy. I'm going on his profile, whatever. And I see him post this little girl. And I'm like, what the heck? Okay. She's like a few months older than, she's 6 months older than my daughter. So it's a 6-month-old baby that he's holding and stuff like that. He's like, my girl, my baby. It's a girl. I just started break down crying because it's like, I told you I had a daughter and you told me you don't create girls, but then you have a whole daughter and you're claiming her. And I'm just like, what the hell? So mind you guys, so I'm 19 at the time and he was like 25 or whatever. So he's a little bit older than me. He was from New Orleans and stuff like that. So I'm just crying, I'm hurt and stuff like that because I didn't really go into detail with you guys, but me and him had like long conversations when he came out here. Like, you know, I come from, like, I don't have my mom and dad. Like, the one who I call mom, she's technically my aunt, but she adopted me, so I call her mom. Like, I don't look at her no different. She don't treat me any different. She doesn't treat my kids any different, nothing like that. So for me, I'm like, you know, I'm hurt because it's like, I told you what I went through and I never wanted my kids to go through that. And prior to all of this happening, when we were talking, he did let me know he had one son. But for me, I'm not that type of person. Like, you had a kid before me. I'm not about to be mad about you having a kid before me and you're older. So, like, you know, at that time, I was like, you know, that's your kid and you love him. Like, you know, at that time, I'm like, okay, cool. Whatever. So, you know, anyway, I text him. I'm like, you a piece of shit. I just go off. I'm like, you have a kid. You tell me you can't even make girls. What the heck? He said, I just found out about her. I just got DNA test. I said, but you won't get a DNA test for mine. Like, I said, I'll pay for it. I'll drive down there for you to do it. I said, bro, I just want you to be in her life. I don't want any money from you. I don't want nothing from you but your time. Like, that's all I want. So I'm crying. I'm hurt. Like, when I tell y'all, I was so bitter. I was so bitter. I was so angry. Like, and I never treated anybody like that, but I was so angry. So I'm crying, I'm angry, I'm just hurt because it's like, why? Like, why me? Like, why do I get stuck with somebody who doesn't want to be there for their kid and stuff like that? I'm not making it hard for them. I'm not asking for child support. I'm not asking for anything. I just want them to really be in their kid's life. And it hurt me because I didn't have my mom and my dad. So I'm like, I literally told him everything about me when we first met. Like, and I was just like, you know, my mom, like, you know, I didn't have my mom, I didn't have my dad, I didn't have a lot of people. So, like, you know, I mean, I didn't have my birth parents, you know, and that really hurt me because, like, as I started to grow up, I tried to figure out who they were and everything that was going on. So he knew, and it's like, why? Like, you know, if I feel like if he was honest from the beginning, maybe I would have been open to having an abortion because I wanted a family. I don't want to have a broken family. So anyway, time goes on. She's already here, so nothing you can do about it. But anyway. So it goes on, and for a while I'm calling him and contacting him, and he's not really, like, you know, there. Like, he's just not really, like, helpful. He hasn't gave any money for the baby, nothing like that. So I go to work full time and stuff like that. In August, I do file for child support or whatever, and I'm just waiting for them to figure out because they don't. Since I don't have an address for him, I don't have a birth certificate. I mean, I don't have social. I don't have anything for him. They kind of have to figure it out. So I get on my detective work and I start looking for his address. I start looking for this. I start looking for that, for numbers, you know, stuff like that. So maybe like a month later, or maybe not even a month later, maybe like, let me see, maybe like 3 months later. Let's see, 3 months later, I am no longer working and doing CSC. I'm working at Denny's. So I'm working at Denny's, and her day, it's like maybe like 20 minutes walking distance from her daycare because I didn't have a car. So I took the train. So it used to take me 3 hours to get to her daycare on the bus and stuff like that. And then I would go to work, and then I will walk to her daycare, and then I will walk back to the train station and walk home. So it will take me like 6 hours, maybe 4 hours to get home. Like, let's say 2 hours there and 2 hours back. So I'll do all of that, and he contacted me like, hey, like, I'm out in LA, like, I want to meet her. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm so excited. I said, well, I'm at work today. When I get off work, I'll take the bus that way and come meet you. So he's like, okay, cool. So I get off work, and I'm like, hey, do you still want to meet up and stuff like that? He's like, yeah. So I go pick her up. Well, I walk to her and get on the bus. We get on the bus. I have to meet him all the way on Lincoln and Santa Monica. It's like Lincoln going towards the Santa Monica beach. So I take the bus all the way to Santa Monica Beach or whatever. I walk to him. It takes me 30 minutes to walk to him. And this is the first time seeing him. So he's like holding her and stuff like that. And I have the picture. I have to find it or whatever. But yeah, I have the picture of him first time holding her. I snuck it in. So he meets her and stuff like that. And we're walking because I'm hungry, I think, or something like that. So we walk to Subway or whatever. He buys me a sandwich from Subway. Anyway, so then we're walking. He's like, oh my God, she's so cute. What's her name? And you know, I'm petty. So I look over and I look at him like, and he's just looking at me, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, what's her name? He was like, I don't know. Or they either asked her name or how old is she? He's like, I don't know. I was like, she's 6 months or something like that. I think it wasn't her name. It was that. So I asked him, I said, I said, what is her name? He was like, I don't know. I said, you can't even take a wild guess. He was like, I don't know. Like, why didn't you name her after my mom? I said, I don't know her. And you're not even in her life for me to sit here and be like, name her after your family. Like, what are you talking about? So we're having an argument, but not really argument. We're having a back and forth conversation about that. I'm like, bro, her name is Marilyn. Like, you know, I love Marilyn Monroe, so I named her Marilyn. And he's like, oh, that's pretty, stuff like that. Like, you know, what's her middle name? I'm like, Bailey. And he was like, why you just saying, you should have really gave her my mom's middle name. I said, bro, that just sounds weird or whatever. So after that, he was like, I'm gonna see her more, I'm gonna be here more and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. After that, like, I never heard from him again for like months and months. So when she was about she was probably about like 6 months old, I got into a relationship with this guy, and everything was going great and stuff like that. And he kind of was cheating on me or whatever with his, at the time I was really young and stupid. So when I met him on, so I met her dad on Instagram. So he got my Instagram and stuff like that. I decided to do the same thing again. So I met this other guy. He asked me for my Instagram. We were talking and stuff like that, and then we hung out and everything was cool and stuff like that. It didn't end right. It didn't end good or whatever. I ended up having to put him on jail because he put his hands on me. And he, like, I had to run him over with my car, but he put his hands on me. But anyway, so he that didn't end well, whatever. So after that, I had got into, let me see, no, am I skipping stuff? No, okay, yeah. So I got a relationship with him. It didn't end right. I told her dad, he was like, oh, I'll come beat him up and stuff like that, but he just like really never showed up again. So yeah, the first relationship didn't work out. We dated for like 6 months. So my daughter was around him for like 6 months. So at this time she's already 1. Then I met somebody else. We dated for like a few months. That relationship did not work out. I don't think I introduced her to him because it was just after that last situation. I was just like, nah, I don't want to deal with that again. So then I met somebody else. So I met somebody else maybe like 3 months after I met the last person, and we were like dating. It wasn't really too serious or something like that. So at this time, I think I'm 22 and I work at the post office. I finally got a car. I'm still living in the same place, but I got a car and stuff like that. So I'm able to go pick her up a lot more and stuff like that. Now at that time, her daycare was dope as fuck. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I worked so far. Like, I used to work at the post office. Maybe when she turned 6 months, I started working at the post office. Because prior to that, I was actually doing cosmetology, but it wasn't making me enough money. So I started going to the post office. So I went to the post office, and her daycare would keep her like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I would pick her up the other days, so that I wouldn't have to travel back and forth on the bus, because I was working like, I think in the morning or nighttime, and I didn't want to take the bus that late. It took 3 hours to get there, or sometimes they would drop her off. So I had a dope ass daycare. So I finally get a car. I get a 2015 Chevy Sonic or whatever, so that I'm able to get wherever I gotta go. And I started dating this one person. I started dating this guy. So I started dating him, and when I started dating him, her dad had started reaching out to me again. And I don't know, it's because of, I was reaching out to him a lot more still. Like, I was still very active trying to get him to be involved and stuff like that. So let's get back on the dad situation. So at this time, I'm dating somebody else now. And I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm dating somebody, you gotta be respectful of it. Because he would say little things, like flirtatious things to me. My thing is like, you don't do nothing for your kid, there's nothing you're gonna get from me, like, at all. Like, I'm not gonna have sex with you, no dealings with you. You don't take care of your kid. Like, that's weird. So again, I'm with this person, whatever, and now I'm telling him, like, you know, like, you need to like get your stuff together. He's like, I want a DNA test. I'm like, cool, I'll pay for it in full. And he's like, okay, cool, like, whatever, that's fine, and whatever. He's like, no, I'll pay half. I'm like, no, I'll just pay for it. If you feel like this is not your kid, I want to prove you wrong, and I'll pay for the whole thing. Like, so then you won't come out of pocket at all. Because my thing was like, if I get him, because I still haven't got him on child support, because I can't find any information on him. He doesn't work, he doesn't do anything or nothing like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. If I get this paper, then I can put him on child support, and they could start filing it. Like, I could start getting money for her. So anyway, every time we were supposed to meet up and stuff like that, he would always flake. Like, he would never show up. He would just never come. I'm just like, bro, like, I'm just crying. I'm hurt. Like, I'm tired of this. And I got to a point one time, my daughter was super sick, and I just couldn't understand why she was so sick. I'm like, I don't have any health issues. On my side of my family, we don't. So I was thinking it's him. So I called him. It's actually before I started dating this person I'm talking about. I was dating somebody else, and I was out on a date. We were at Universal Studios, and I was just like crying. Like, you know, I was with him, and it was him, his mom, and his dad. So but we like ventured off by ourselves. And I'm like, bro, my daughter's been sick for like 2 weeks, and I just don't know why. Like, you know, and I started crying. I'm like, I don't deserve this. It's not fair. Like, I just want her to have her dad, you know. And then come to find out, I found out that her dad had ended up being in the hospital because of his kidneys, because he drinks lean and stuff like that. So his kidneys started to mess up and stuff like that. And he started to have health issues. And then coming to find out, his mom had health issues and his sister had something as well. So I'm like, okay, it has to be on his dad's side of the family. But since he's not cooperating with me, I don't know anything. So anyway, time passed or whatever, and I get a message from a girl on Instagram, and she's like, hey, who are you? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I've seen you in Dorian's, sorry, I said his name. I see you in Marilyn's dad's phone. But she didn't say that. She just said his name. And I'm like, okay, and who are you? And she was like, I'm his girlfriend. I'm not about to argue with you. So I sent a picture of my daughter. She goes, oh, shoot. I'm like, yeah. I said, it's not like that. I said, I have a kid by this man, so I'm trying to have him help out with his daughter. I said, well, since you're in his life, like, can you kind of like help him, like, can you, like, you know, like, I don't know what the heck, you know, how to get him to be attentive as a dad. She's like, I didn't know you had a daughter by him. I didn't know none of that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's not going to tell you because he doesn't help take care of the kid. So, you know, she adds me on Facebook. We start talking back and forth. Like, he's in love with her. They're in a whole relationship. And I'm like, okay, cool. So me and her like add each other on Facebook, and she's trying to convince him to come and do whatever, you know, help out. So she lets me know when they're at LA. So they end up being in San Bernardino, and I'm like, well, let me know when you guys get to your room. I'll drive out there so he can see her, because he hasn't seen her in forever. And she's like, okay, cool. But I asked her, I forgot to tell you guys, I asked her, like, how did you find me? Like, how did you, like, you know, find me on Facebook? She goes, your registry on Google. I typed his name in on Google, and your registry pops up. I'm like, man, she's probably lying. So I go on Google and I type in his full name, and my registry does pop up, as long as everything else that has something to do with him pops up. I'm like, what the heck? So I go on my registry and I take his name off. Before I take his name, I don't do it that day. I think I do it like maybe a month or two later, because somebody else hit me up. So somebody else hit me up and they're like, hey, like, who are you? And I'm like, who are you? They're like, oh, well, I'm pregnant by him. And I'm like, okay, and I have a kid by him. I'm like, you know, she goes, well, actually, I'm not pregnant by him no more. I had a miscarriage. I said, I'm not trying to say it like that to sound, you know, messed up or anything, but you dodged a bullet. Like, you know, just live your life, because he wasn't going to help you take care of those kids. Like, I know for a fact he wasn't going to help you take care of those kids. So that happens. After this, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get any help for him. So I reached out to other people. I found his Facebook. I reached out to his brother, his sister, his other baby moms and stuff like that. And I'm not like disrespectful. I reached out to all. So I found out he had 2 other kids. So I knew about one kid, which was the oldest, and I found out about another little boy, and then I found out about the little girl. So I do my research, I do my investigating, and, you know, one of the baby mamas still likes his pictures on Instagram of their daughter. So I go and I find her on Instagram. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to come at you disrespectfully or nothing like that, but I have a kid by him, and I send a picture. I'm like, I said, I would like for our kids to get to know each other, because they are siblings and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I hit all three of them up. So 2 of them respond like, yeah, I don't mind. It's just, I'm like, okay, where are you located at? One is in Georgia, one is in like Mississippi. I'm not really too sure of where it was. And the other one's in Sacramento. I'm like, damn, this nigga got travel, you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm like, okay, the last one was like, oh, well, I have to ask him and see. I'm like, what do you have to ask him to see? I said, I'm not asking to be in a relationship with him. I'm asking you, for me and you, to have our kids to have a relationship. Because of that, I'm like, oh, y'all must still be having a relationship, because I don't know what woman's going to say, let me ask him if we're talking about the kids. So anyway, after that, I never heard from her again. I get a call from him, and he's like, bro, why you hit up my family? They're talking about you being disrespectful. So I sent him all the messages. I said, I'm not getting the same responses you are getting. Everyone's telling me yes, and they're cool. I never came at them disrespectfully. So I hit up one of the baby moms. So I'm like, hey, did I like disrespect you in any way? Did I make you feel any way? She's like, no, what are you talking about? So he hit me up saying that I disrespected you, and if that's what happened, I said, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to have my daughter know her siblings. So she's like, no, he's just crazy, whatever, and he don't help out with her kid at all either. So, you know, she's breaking down to me like the story. So we're in our inbox talking about how we met him and how she met him, how long she was with him. She's pulling out pictures, receipts, everything. She pulls out everything, you know, and I felt bad for her, because I'm like, I'm in the same position you were in. So then the other baby mom, he kind of helps out more with that kid than anybody else's kid, but he's the type of person, I realized after like years, like he's the type of person, he's only going to deal with the kid if he's in that same state as the kid, because he only hit me up when he was in LA, but if he wasn't in LA, he never hit me up. So anyway, that happened and whatever. At this time, my daughter is probably like 1.5 or something like that, or 2. So yeah, I get in a relationship with this person. I'm kind of scared, because it's like, okay, I already have one failed relationship, and my daughter was here when the guy put his hands on me. She was literally in my arms when he socked me, because I caught him cheating. So yeah, so I'm skeptical, I'm scared and stuff like that. But let me see. But you know, we end up making it work. We were together and stuff like that. And you know, I was telling him like, hey, her dad wants me to drive down to drive down to meet him. I didn't tell him where because I really didn't know where. So I drove down to go meet her dad, which was 2 hours away driving wise. So I drove all the way to Lexington I think Lexington for a 30-minute meet. He met me for 30 minutes and his cousin came out like, oh, like, and met the baby too. So this is his second time meeting her, you guys, mind you that. So he meets her for the second time. He's picking her up. I have a picture of that. I just have to find it in my phone somewhere. So he meets her for the second time and he's like, yeah, I just don't know if it's mine. His cousin's like, bro, that little girl looks just like you. That's your baby, whatever like that. He goes, and your baby mama's fine as fuck. Like, what is wrong with you? So this day he gives me $60. And I'm just looking like, bro, $60. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with $60? I'm like, okay, cool. So I take the $60 and I go to Carter's and I buy her some outfits and I send him the receipts to show him that like I really took the money and bought it for what I needed to be, which I don't really have to do that because you haven't helped me out with her ever. And I sent him the money and I'm like, I got me an outfit and a half with this and stuff like that. He's like, okay, cool. I'll send you some more money soon or whatever. And he disappears. So that happens and I'm just over it. I'm irritated. Like, I just give up. Like, you know, after he was supposed to show up, like I said, he was supposed to show up in San Bernardino. Oh, actually, I think the Lexington was before that. So this is before he had his girlfriend. So I mixed the stories up. So it was Lexington and then San Bernardino. So San Bernardino is the one where he was supposed to meet up with me. He never showed up. I got us dressed. I got us ready and he never showed up. So I switched the stories. So it was the other way around. Guys, this is 7 years ago. But anyway, so after that situation, I was just over it. Like, you know, I was just like, I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. If you're going to be here, you're going to be here. I'm not. And, you know, my boyfriend was mad because he was like, bro, like, you drove 2 hours. That he's supposed to be driving 2 hours. You're not supposed to be driving 2 hours for him to see his kid. He's supposed to make that effort to come see his kid. That makes no sense. If it was opposite, I'll be driving those 2 hours to see my kid, not you drive 2 hours and you have the kid. I'm like, I know, but I really want him to be here for her. He's like, if he's gonna be here for her, he's gonna be here for her. And I'm just like, okay, cool, you're right. So he started to be more of a father figure to her than anything. He bought her shoes, he bought her clothes. He was, you know, their birthdays were like a week apart. So they really, like, birthday celebrations are really hard because it's like, okay, so it's your birthday, then a week later it's his birthdays. I'm like, dang. So, you know, he wasn't there for the first birthday. He was there. He's been there for, like, you know, other birthdays, but the first birthday he wasn't really there for because when we got together like November. So we got to get together in November 2016. So yeah, November 2016. Well, we went together. We started talking to each other November 2016. So his birthday and her birthday's January 31st. His birthday is February 7th. And mind you, Marilyn's dad's birthday is February 8th. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But anyway, so his birthday is February 7th. So, like, we know we never celebrate the birthdays together. I was kind of hurt behind it because I feel like she never had a dad there for her birthday. But I had to understand we were only been talking for like a few months and we weren't really like serious. So anyway, all that happened and stuff like that. I forgot to mention, she did have a godmom. She had a godmom who asked to be her godmom 3 months in. And with that being said, I had, when you get pregnant, you get all these godmom aunties and fake uncles. And I had a godmom. So I'm gonna tell you the story about the godmom at 19. So she asked to be the godmom and I'm like, okay, cool. So she signs up to be the godmom and, you know, me and her have a falling out because I'm 19 and I don't have as much help as I feel like not that I should have. I didn't have a lot of help because I thought I knew what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So for me, it was like I asked her for help one day. I asked her if she could help me get some milk. She was like, well, no, that's not my problem, basically. I was like, well, you're her godmom. Like, I thought godmoms help step in when I can't go and do it. You know, so me at 19, I went and sold like I had just bought me graduation beats, the Beats by Dre or whatever. I sold those. I was selling my shoes. I was selling clothes to get her formula because she was just going through formula like crazy. So I'm crying. I'm at a bus stop in El Monte trying to buy formula from some stranger and stuff like that. And I'm like, she's like, oh, well, you need to figure it out. But she's helping some other lady out who has a husband and stuff like that. She's like, I have to help out this family. I'm like, I'm 19, like, what the heck? Like, so after that, I was kind of like mad. I was hurt. I was just over it. I'm like, I don't want her to have a godmom. So I stopped talking to her. I was like, Mom, get your friend because I'm gonna cuss her out because she's disrespectful. Not disrespectful. I was just mad and young, stuff like that. So her godmom, she had a godmom, but I cut her off because it was just frustrating that every time I needed help with her, she just was not there and helpful. And it might sound selfish on a point of view, but like she asked me to be the godmom. So I'm thinking you're going to step in and help me out. And I'm not talking about so I can go to the club, so I can go hang out with dudes and stuff like that. It's more so like so I can go to work maybe. So I can like, can you help me out with formula or diapers or something like that? So that's what we had a falling out at. So she didn't have a godmom until Marilyn was like maybe like a year old or so, someone else asked to be her godmom, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know, like I'm like, it's really up to you guys. Like, and I saw the relationship, like my daughter loved her so freaking much. I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a chance again. So she has a godmom named Kaida, who has been like a blessing. So I just wanted to talk to you guys and tell you guys the story of like how I got pregnant at 19, so it wouldn't come off like, oh, you're just telling me stuff and you're not really telling your story. So 19 and pregnant for me was horrible. It was the most tiring experience ever. I was always crying. To me, I got really big because I was 117 when I got pregnant, and I was very emotional. I was very hurt. I was very bitter. I was just, all the emotions were going on because I'm trying to figure out who my parents are. Now I'm pregnant and he's not here. He's not helpful. I'm going through bad relationships. I'm trying to find a job. I'm trying to find daycare. I'm trying to find everything. So what I tell people is 19 and pregnant, and someone has hit me up and asked me like, you know, should I keep my baby? And I told them my story. I'm like, bro, this is what I've gone through. People who say they're going to be there for you, who's the fake auntie and uncle, they're not going to be there for you. The people who you least expect are going to be there for you the most. Like, I can tell you who's been in my corner the most since my daughter was born at that time was my mom, daycare, her second godmom, and then her stepdad. So those are the people who were there for me the most, and those are the people I least expected it. I was thinking the other way around. Everyone who's saying uncle, auntie was going to be there. Everybody who the dad was going to be there. Her dad's grandma was going to be there. I had a whole different picture about it. I thought we were going to be live together, we were going to get married, and none of that happened. And at the end of the day, you know, the crazy part is I'm not even mad at her dad. Like, I'm not mad at myself. I'm not mad at her dad. I told him, I said, I don't hate you. I said, it takes too much energy for me to hate you. I said, at the end of the day, I hope you get it together for her, because when she grows up and she starts to hate you, that's not on me. That's on you. So, you know, I was hurt, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't none of that. Life started to look up for me. I'm working at the post office. I'm making $15 an hour. I'm able to take my daughter places. I'm in a relationship. I'm in a happy relationship. You know, I start to meet this person's mom, and I'm just like, yes, I'm excited, I'm happy and stuff like that. So I want to tell you guys, like, when you get pregnant, just make sure you know a person. That's what my main thing is, know a person. When I say know a person, I mean, I'm talking about this. I'm gonna tell you about knowing a person, actually. Know their first name, their last name, their social, their ID number, and get 3 addresses. Just in case the nigga want to flake, you got all this information to put his ass on child support. And I'm not a bitter person who put him on child support because he's not there. I told him, I said, I'm putting you on child support because I want you to remind you every single day that you got a kid out here that you do not take care of. Not because I'm mad that you want to be with me, not because you got me pregnant, I don't know, no, because you have a kid and you need to take care of them. So that's what I always, like, you know, that always stuck with me, and I always told him. So you know, that's just one of the stories I want to tell you guys about my pregnancy. I'm going to go into depth about my second pregnancy and the difference between my first and my second pregnancy. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I'll be back with a second video.